Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So with the Savage Omega build series coming to a close and title update 3.5 now live, we're starting a brand new series where we revisit and update the best builds for each weapon. Right now, you're watching the updated spread heavy bowgun build featuring the new arc tempered new Udra equipment. The big upgrade here is the addition of burst 3 thanks to the arc tempered new Udra piece. So our previous spread build used burst 1, which is technically the most optimal for pure DPS, but the 2 extra points of raw power from burst 3 definitely won't hurt. In terms of overall damage, this build hits hard because you've got high affinity, high critical boost, and latent power 5 active. So there'll be a point where nearly every shot you fire is a crit. Now you combine that with burst up and you're looking at consistently strong damage output. Now, a major change this time around is that we're dropping the Fulgur Anginav set pieces. So previously, we used those for second wind, which helped maintain affinity uptime when rolling. Now, we've swapped those out for a combination of Ray Dao, Lagiacrus, and the new Arc Tempered new Udra pieces. The great thing about this setup is that you no longer have to worry about stamina management because you can roll freely without worrying about maximum might uptime. And even if you lose some affinity here, latent power 5 makes up for it easily. Another big advantage is customization. So this build gives a ton of level 1 decorations, which means you can basically tailor it for any matchup. So in this series, we'll be testing these builds against Arc Tempered new Udra, but for other monsters, you can slot in Divine Blessing, Elemental Resistances, or utility skills you want. So not only are you dealing top tier damage with Weakness Exploit level 5, Latent Power level 5, and all the other core offensive skills, but you also have the flexibility to adapt this setup however you like. It's easily one of the most customizable spread heavy bowgun builds we've had so far. Now, I do want to preface this by saying that with this new Udra helmet build for the spread heavy bowgun, there's actually a stronger version of this build. So I want to give credit to the heavy bowgun section of the Monster Hunter Wilds Discords, and specifically 2 players, Scrub and Unkempt. So in that Discord chat, I was asking for help with optimization to see if the new Udra set was the strongest version of the spread heavy bowgun, and they mentioned something interesting, that Agitator is actually stronger than Weakness Exploit in this context. Now here's why. So they explained that Weakness Exploit gives around 30% affinity with decent uptime, but if you use Fulgur Anginav 2 pieces, the helmet gives you Agitator and allows you to run maximum might. So at level 3, maximum might gives you another 30% affinity, and on top of that, Agitator provides both flat attack and affinity. So in raw numbers, the Agitator build ends up outperforming the new Udra build in pure damage output. So I just want to take a moment to again reiterate, with this channel, this is a collaborative effort. I am not the best player. Like, as you can see, there are some truly cracked players out here that can take these builds even further and come up with things that I wouldn't have. So, you know, never be discouraged to comment or put out an optimization, because if the optimization is there, I will shout out your channel, I will shout out whatever, because this is a collaboration. All right, to give you a visual, here's what you're looking at right now. This first screenshot shows the peak damage for the new Udra build, which is around 35.5 points of damage per pellet, with consistent crits and great uptime. It's solid damage with much better stamina freedom since you're not relying on stamina based affinity like maximum might. Now, the second screenshot shows the Agitator's build's peak, around 37.4 points of damage per pellet. That may not sound like a big difference, but because it's per pellet, that extra 2 points of damage per shot stacks up massively over the course of a long hunt. So, while the new Udra version is safer and more flexible, the Agitator build remains the strongest DPS variant of the spread heavy bowgun build so far. So at the end of the equipment and decoration section, I'll include both builds side by side so you can choose which one fits your playstyle better. And again, big shout out to Scrub and Unkempt Herald for helping with this optimization. I definitely wouldn't have come up with this without their input. Alright guys, welcome to the table of contents. So if you just want to copy the equipment and decorations, feel free to skip ahead to the section below. But if you want to see this build in action, we'll be showcasing it against Arc Tempered new Udra. We'll follow the same format as before, breaking down punish windows, naming monster attacks, and providing a step-by-step playthrough guide on how to hunt Arc Tempered new Udra with this setup. So if you want to see this build in motion and learn a few of new Udra's mechanics along the way, keep watching for the playstyle and showcase section. Also, quick shout out to the Omega Hunter server hosted by Spicy and Lexi. Their Discord link is in the description below. It's a highly organized server designed to help players form squads and hunt specific monsters together. So if you need people to play with, or you want to test these builds out in coordinated hunts, definitely check them out. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so we're benchmarking this build against Arc-Tempered New Udra, and the first thing I'll say is this. This matchup is actually pretty easy for spread heavy bowgun, but there are a few key things you need to look out for. There are two specific attacks you absolutely need to watch out for when fighting Arc-Tempered New Udra, especially in the team setting. And on top of that, this version of New Udra also introduces one new attack that is extremely dangerous for heavy bowgun users, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Now, if you can avoid that move though, this is a very straightforward fight. Now, when you're playing spread heavy bowgun in this matchup, your main role is DPS. That means your job is to deal as much damage as possible whenever New Udra's attention is focused on someone else. So, whenever the aggro is on your teammates, that is your cue to unload and burst down the monster's HP as quickly as possible. So, when the aggro switches onto you, don't try to force the fight. It's really not worth the risk. Just focus on survival, reposition, and wait for the monster to turn its attention back to the others before re-engaging. Most of your damage will come from uncontested openings, where New Udra is attacking someone else and you're free to lay into him with spread damage, so don't rush. Now, the first attack you need to look out for is called Mini Eruption. When New Udra becomes ignited, he'll scatter pools of magma around him that explode shortly after. If you're caught close to him when this happens, you honestly need to perfect guard, roll out of the blast zone, or just avoid this attack altogether. So, in the clip below, you see that we perfect guard the explosion to safely maintain position and keep pressure up. Next, the second attack to watch out for is Flame Breath. New Udra unleashes a stream of fire directly at its target. This attack can be blocked, but it will drain your stamina quickly, so it's usually better to move away using your Sacred, perform multiple dives, or simply run to the side. For this move, your main goal is just get out of the line of fire. This attack has a long startup animation, so it's generally easy to avoid, especially if you're positioning correctly. As a heavy bowgun player, you should always be repositioning and maintaining distance, rather than facing New Udra head on. If you do end up with aggro though, remember that your goal is survival, not DPS. Just stay away until the monster's focus is on someone else. Now, if you're not the target, there's absolutely no reason for you to be hit by this move. It's directed at another player and you should be off to the side keeping up damage from a safe angle. So overall, Flame Breath isn't a major threat. If you get caught by it, it's usually because you made a positioning mistake or got tunnel visioned. Now, the next attack is pretty dangerous, and I really need you to pay attention to this one because things can get very bad for you if you're not careful. This isn't one of New Udra's new moves yet, but it's still extremely threatening, especially for heavy bowgun users. The attack you're seeing in this clip is called Tentacle Slam. Here's why this move is so dangerous. New Udra will use his long, disjointed hitboxes, his tentacle, to strike from a distance. One of your biggest defensive advantages as a spread heavy bowgun player is that you're usually positioned far away from the monster by maintaining critical distance. But because this hitbox is so long and far reaching, you are still in danger even when you think you're safe. The second reason this move is so dangerous is its speed. From the moment New Udra winds up to the moment the hitbox actually connects, it's roughly 1 second, very little time to react. And here's the worst part. If you get hit by Tentacle Slam, or Tentacle Swipe I mean, you'll be put into a hit stun, leaving you vulnerable. What New Udra often does next is immediately following up with another attack, usually one that can finish you off while you're basically still recovering. So, in this clip, you'll see exactly what I mean. We get caught by the Tentacle Swipe and go down into hit stun, but we delay our recovery and we get lucky because New Udra turns his aggro onto another player instead of finishing us off. And as soon as we have an opening, we mount our Sacred and retreat to a safe distance to heal. This moment perfectly shows the biggest way you can die in this matchup. New Udra lands a quick attack on you, you get hit stunned, and he immediately chains into another move before you can react. So remember, when it comes to Tentacle Swipe, you have two safe options. Either stay completely out of range or block it. If you do anything else, you are gambling with your life bar. Okay, the next attack we're going to talk about is one of New Udra's new moves, and it's called Oil Explosion. During this attack, Arc-Tempered New Udra first spits out oil across the ground, then ignites it, causing a massive explosion that leaves behind a flaming terrain for several seconds. When you see New Udra start this motion, immediately move towards the side and avoid the blast. That is the safest way to dodge it while still being close enough to deal some counter damage. Now, if you're not confident in your positioning, you may want to equip guard up, since this move can still hit through your normal blocks, but this is a heavy bowgun build, I wouldn't recommend that. But if you're using another weapon, go ahead with that. Now, this attack is one of those that catches everyone off guard the first time they fire Arc-Tempered New Udra. And you know, the first few hunts, you'll probably get clipped by it, and it's going to instantly cart you, and your first thought will be, wow, this monster is insane. But it's not that the monster is actually that hard, it's just that you don't recognize the move yet. I remember when my team and I first started hunting Arc-Tempered New Udra, we all kept dying to this exact attack. We were confused, wondering what was even happening, until we finally figured out what the animation looked like, and after that, we never got hit again. So think of Ult Explosion as a kind of kill confirm move, as in if you don't recognize it, it's probably going to kill you. So once you learn it though, it's going to be easy to spot and it'll be completely manageable. Another aspect of the hunt that I want to talk about is Wyvern Ignition. So this is one of those rare matchups where it's actually better to alternate between Wyvern Ignition and your normal spread shots instead of relying on just one. Now, your spread ammo is still going to deal higher raw damage per pellet, no questions about that. But the reason we continue to use Wyvern Ignition in this matchup is because of its unique properties. First, Wyvern Ignition fires 40 bullets in succession, and that damage ramps up the longer you maintain the chain. Each consecutive hit you land increases your overall damage output, so your goal is to unload all 40 bullets without missing. Second is that it has increased range, meaning you can deal damage from a safer distance compared to standard spread shots. That's a big deal here because Arc-Tempered New Udra is still a dangerous matchup for heavy bowgun users. Having a tool that lets you maintain pressure while staying out of reach gives you a lot more control and survivability. And on top of that, New Udra's massive body makes this attack extremely efficient because he doesn't move around much and his large hit zones make it easy to land all 40 bullets consistently. So for this fight, it's best to weave both styles together. Use your spread shots when you're in a safe distance to do so, and use your Wyvern Ignition when you need to keep distance, but you still want to deal solid damage. Alright, now in this clip, I'm going to show you one of the most dangerous attacks from New Udra's new moveset, his swipe attack. So, in the clip below, you'll see New Udra lock onto me and start charging straight at me. Now, the moment I recognize that New Udra has aggro on me, what do? Exactly what I've said before, and I'll keep saying it again. If the monster aggroes you, sheath your weapon, get in your sacred, and get away. Same rule as Savage Omega. The second you see the aggro, survive, get away. And that's exactly what I do. So as I sheath, New Udra performs a swipe attack, which is basically the upgraded version of the Tentacle Swipe we talked about earlier. So if you look in this clip, look at how much distance New Udra covers. We had to Superman dive this attack just to survive. It's a super dangerous move, and to make things worse, he tries to follow it up with another strike immediately afterwards. But because we dodged and repositioned earlier, he ends up switching targets and aggroing another player, giving us the perfect window to re-enter the DPS mode and resume damage. Simple as that. This matchup is not hard, but it feels hard if you break certain rules. And the fundamental rule is, if the monster aggroes you, get a rig. It doesn't matter how repetitive it sounds, I'll repeat it 10,000 times if I have to because it's that important. Now, this single rule is the difference between thinking, man, this hunt is impossible for heavy bowgun, and realizing, wait, this matchup is actually one of the easiest fights in the game. Alright guys, so here's the equipment, decorations, talisman, basically everything you need for the new Udra version of this build. So the new Udra version is what has been showcased in this video, and you know, it's what you're going to be getting. Now, like I said, if you want the true maximum DPS that you can get, look at the optimized version that the Discord channel helped me make. So yeah, pick whichever one you want depending on your playstyle. You know, like there's no wrong way to play. Just play how you want to, you know. But yeah, again, huge shout out to Scrub and Unkempt Hemp. So again, Scrub is a speedrunner, and Unkempt Hemp is a pretty good heavy bowgun player that gives a lot of feedback to the community and like a lot of good information. So you know, here are their channels. You know, definitely check them out. Really awesome players. So yeah, thanks again. All right, you guys take care and let me know if you need anything else. I'll see you later. Bye.